All right, let's create a mandala that we are going to export so we can do a 3D engraving with the Glowforge. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go to File and we need to create a new document. I already have a document right here that is created. It needs to be 8x8 at 300 resolution. This is very important. And you can just have a white background so that way you can see what's going on. And we're going to hit create. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to use our brush tool. And up here you see this little butterfly. This helps us with symmetry when it comes to Photoshop. What we want to create is a mandala one. And our minimum will be 8. And we're going to press OK. And I am going to drag this out to my corners. Hit enter. And I need to look at my layers, and I don't want to draw on my background. We know that. That is something that we do quite often. We don't draw on our background. So we're going to create a new layer. I am going to name this one lines because we're going to create one more layer after this. So the cool part about using this mandala is I will just draw in one of these pies and it will create our mandala for us. So if we come up here, we do not want a soft edge brush. So we want to make sure that hardness is set at 100. The size of your brush really just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to make this first one pretty small. I'm going to do about 15 pixels. And I'm going to start drawing and see as I come in here, we have that. Now remember, slower is better for this. You don't want to draw fast. You could get really jittery. If you would like straight lines, let's say I want a straight line from here to here. If I hold shift, it's going to draw a straight line for us. I can hold shift again. We have this nice, lovely indoor. I'm going to keep it just at that. I'm going to hold shift again. And I am clicking first and then holding shift. So now we have that. I am going to draw a circle right here. Now, if you have Procreate, if you're in my Procreate class as well, we can do this in Procreate also. So I am just going to do a pretty simple mandala design here. If I want to, I can make this larger. And I can just do dots as well. Oh, I don't like that one. Command Z, remember Command Z will undo. I can do a dot here then too. If you want to, you could get really crazy, use different brushes if you really so want to try different things. I'm going to make this one even smaller. I'm going to do a 5-point brush now. Now it is important that you close your lines. You don't want gaps because we will be filling this in soon. I don't really like that. I'm going to undo it. Here, that's a little bit better. So we're just going to say this is done for right now, mainly because I want to get to the next stage, if you will. Now I'm going to show you one quick thing. I'm going to do some dots in here, and I'm going to do some larger ones. And I'm going to show you something else that you can do. Right there. I'm just going to paint over this one. So now I have large dots, but I don't want that huge dot in there. I'm going to hit X, which will now give me white. I'm going to bring this down to maybe, yeah, that looks good. And I'm just going to put a dot in here. So now I have, you know, a circle within that. I'm going to hit X again. So my black is on top. I'm going to connect these one more time. Just to finish off my mandala like that. All right, so I have, you know, some different thicknesses in my lines. I have thin and thick lines, so I have 3 different thicknesses of lines, which adds some variety to my mandala. But what I need to do now is I need to fill in some areas with grayscale. So the black is going to be your thickest when it comes to 3D engraving. So my lines right now are going to be the thickest. If I would not want them to be the thickest, let's say I wanted them to be in the middle, I could select the whole layer and turn that to a gray color if I wanted to. I'm going to leave them black. You want to pick 3 grayscale colors. So I'm going to come over here to my swatches. And as you can see, I have all my swatches here, but I could come over down here and open up my grayscale swatches. So I want to pick 3 different swatches because I don't want to use black. That's bad. But I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to pick this one. So now they're all on my top, so I know where they're at. That way I have some good contrast because now we're looking for contrast. And we want them to be some pretty good steps. I'm going to show you one that didn't work too in just a second. So what I need to do now is I need to create a new layer, and I'm going to name that fill. All right. And I'm going to come over here to my magic wand tool. If your magic wand tool is not showing, it is a hidden tool 4th down. I need to make sure that sample all layers is clicked. If you do not have that clicked, this will not work. All right. This is where our symmetry comes into play. You need to make sure that you are doing things symmetrical and that you're using your radial symmetry. Remember, it radiates out from the center. So let's say I want the inside of these circles to be one of my gray colors. So I want it to be a light gray. So I have the light gray selected. If I want a different gray, if I want that middle gray, just come over here. Notice that this pops up. I'm going to use my magic wand tool. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to do every other one for this one. And then I'm going to simply option delete, and my circles are filled in. Command D will deselect. I'm going to come in here, holding shift, and I'm going to pick the darker gray. And again, option delete, deselect. Notice this is going in a different layer. If I turn this layer off, I just have my lines, so that way I can easily use that. And now I'm going to select every other one here. And I'm going to do this gray color again, deselect. And then I'm going to go here. I'm going to do this a light gray. I want all of them. So remember holding shift for that. I'm going to do this lightest gray. It might not seem like a lot, but it really actually is. So actually, I want these a different gray. That middle gray color. Again, so I have these. That looks really nice. Now you do not want to fill everything in for multiple reasons. It just won't work, for one. And 2, it will just be a bit much. So you definitely want to pick and choose, adding just enough contrast that makes it work. But not so much that it looks bad. So we're going to keep doing that. I might be done. Maybe I want to fill these backgrounds in with a light gray just to add a little bit. Not that gray. This lighter gray. I'm just going to go to this gray. I know it's not the 3 that I picked, but I do want it a little bit darker than the others. Now you can tell that this didn't work quite as well because there is an open line in here. So I'm going to undo that. I'm not going to fill those in because it just didn't work the way I wanted it to. So I think I'll fill in this. Should work with that color. So if you have non-closed lines, you can go in and fix that, but I'm not going to. Up there. So that's done. This is how I want it to look. It's going to be great. All I'm going to do now, and this is the important part because we need to export this file correctly, Otherwise, it'll be a square when we bring it in to the Glowforge, and we don't want that. We want it to cut the shape. So if I go here and unclick this background, I now have a transparent background. It will work very nicely, but it's fine that these are transparent. It's not a big deal. It just means it's white. It's not going to cut anything. So what I'm going to do up here now is I'm going to go down to File, and the great part right now about Photoshop is you can just go to Export, and you can quick export as a PNG, export that into whatever file or desktop you need. I'm going to do 3D Glow. It is on my desktop. It's a PNG. I'm going to hit Save, and now my file is exported and ready to import into my Glowforge. Now, I also told you that I'm going to show you one that was overdone. I'm going to open that up super quick. It's right here. So one of my students, it looks really great on screen. This works really, really well on screen. It does not work really, really well when we try to actually cut this on the Glowforge. She, instead of going in and doing each individual area, she just put a gradient underneath it. So the gradient doesn't have enough contrast in the actual layers, and it just ends up being all one gobbledygook mess. It is a great design right here and right now. It's beautiful. It looks great. She did a really good job with the spiral part, but it just doesn't translate to 3D. It definitely needs to have individual areas filled in solid and not every area filled in with a value. Otherwise, it will just burn into a crispy, gunky mess.